Mr. Bruce Weeks. So, Mr. Weeks, you have 2 minutes of opening statement, and then we'll have 6 minutes of questions, and then a minute to close out. So you can start with your opening statement.
Appreciate you. So good evening, everyone. As Christian stated, my name is Bruce Weeks. I was born and raised here in the city of Atlantic City. Went to Atlantic City High School where I graduated, and then I went to Howard University where I graduated in 2008 with a finance degree. Shortly thereafter, I went and worked on Wall Street for a number of years, so I have a finance background. And then I moved back to Atlantic City in around 2016. Had a number of different jobs, worked at Atlanticare, worked for the city government. I served as a councilman at large here in the great city of Atlantic City. And currently, I am the Assistant Director of Economic Development for the city of Atlantic City. So I've been civically involved, I've been politically involved, I've been a part of the business community. I was the founder of the Small Business Academy, which I actually just came from. We had a session tonight. But for me, I'm running for assembly because we need change. We need someone that actually understands the needs in this district, someone that looks like us that can understand the problems, someone that's closer to the problems and doesn't represent any special interest or any political faction. So that's why I'm running. I want to be your representative here in District 2. Again, my name is Bruce Weeks. Thank you for having me, and thank you to NAACP for hosting this. I think these forums are great to bring transparency about every candidate, from state down to local. So happy to be here.
No, thank you. And so that kind of leads into the next question, which you kind of talked about, but what skills or strengths do you possess that maybe your opponent does not have?
So I would say the first strength that I have that makes me unique is my vision. And when I say vision, I'm not talking about my ability to structure long-term goals. I'm not talking about my vision, my ability to plan things out or to see things that other people don't necessarily see from a development standpoint. But my ability to see that single mother that stands on the White Horse Pike out in the dark and the cold, waiting for her bus to get to work, only to be able to barely pay her rent and her daycare. My ability to see the intelligent black and brown folks that are in our county, in our district, that want to start a business but don't have the connections or resources to get going. As we look around the country at what's going on, with certain powers wanting to get rid of DEI, we all know the opposite of diversity is segregation. We all know that the opposite of equity is inequity, and we know that the opposite of inclusion is exclusion. And I don't know about anyone else in this room, but the only time I turn back the hands, the hands on the clock, is daylight savings time. So we don't have any time to be going backward. We need to be progressive. We need to be diverse. We need to have diversity of thought and diversity of leadership that reflects the community.
Thank you. And you have an extensive background in finance and budgeting, so at this level, if elected, what will be your first budgetary priority?
So my first budgetary priority would be affordability. When we look at property taxes, we look at the cost of living, and then we start to examine all the tax incentives that the corporations get in our area, and they get pilots, they get this, and they get all kinds of programs. And then we start to think about some of the revenue streams that come through Atlantic City that we don't get, whether it's parking tax, luxury tax, and hotel tax. I want to have a two-part legislation that firstly brings back a larger portion of those revenues to Atlantic County. And then once we get that passed, I want to augment that and add a second part that creates a property tax relief fund specifically for families in Atlantic County. Because for far too long, we've had the casino pilot and no pilot for the people. When people are struggling to make their mortgage payments, there's no pilot program for them. They have to deal with the bank directly or with the city directly. We need to have specified fund generated from those special tax revenues that we don't get anything from. We need to get a bigger percentage of those tax revenues and create a property tax relief fund for the residents of Atlantic County.
Awesome, thank you. And really quickly, what do you believe is the most pressing concern that this county is facing?
Well, there are a number of concerns. The first one I want to talk about is affordable housing. Someone just spoke about the housing shortage. So currently, at the rate that we're building in New Jersey, 2,700 units a year, there's currently a massive shortage of over 200,000 units that need to be met. At this particular rate that we're building affordable housing, it would take us 80 years to catch up. So we need to really loosen some of the zoning regulations in certain areas that encourage and not discourage multifamily building of housing. But we also need to further incentivize developers to come here to help them fund those projects. We have a number of those through the state EDA. But the last thing I want to talk about as far as an issue is economic opportunity. There is a severe lack of resources for minority black-owned businesses and minority businesses. Nationally, we are 2 times likely to be denied loans, and when we do receive business loans, we receive significantly less than our counterparts. So we need to have intentional set-aside funding through the NJEDA, specifically for minority-owned businesses, so that we have access to capital to grow our businesses, to create a sustainable wealth that we can transfer to our heirs. And then lastly, we need to completely revamp our procurement process in this state. They did a disparity study and it found some very concerning things. The first being that we received as a community significantly less than our counterparts as it pertains to contracts. So for instance, for construction contracts, minority-owned businesses only received $13 million compared to their counterparts, $14 billion. I can go on and on. I wish I had more time.
We appreciate that passion. But there's a passionate timekeeper to my right who I'm afraid of.
I think we need more time.
Well, listen, so we want you to continue. We give you 1 minute for closing. Is that okay? We appreciate you. So we're going to give you 1 minute for closing, if you can finish that.
Okay, so in closing, I'll just say that there are a number of things that we need to revamp systemically in our district. They call it structural violence in certain areas of this country. There have been certain policies and legislation in place that have held us back for so long. We need someone that's going to go to Trenton and be innovative and fight for us and be intentional about bringing those resources home. Again, I appreciate all the tourism dollars that come here. They bring economic benefit to us. But it also puts a strain on our infrastructure and our resources. And we don't ever account for that. There's no set-aside funding for Atlantic City or the county for all of the stress that goes in our roads and our bridges and our pathways. And again, that stuff has a lasting effect year-round. Yes, all that money coming in is good for the summertime, but we need to be properly accounted for as a district as it relates to the state. We need to be taken more seriously. We also are a transportation desert, which greatly affects employment opportunities. It greatly affects people's ability to sustain employment. So there are a number of issues that the incumbents are not addressing. They can't get anything passed. I haven't seen anything that would really benefit the people. All I see are legislation that match special interests or people that donate to their campaigns. We need something that reflects, and also the last part, we need to institute participatory budgeting within our process. What that means is the citizens get involved in that process for a specified amount of funding, where they actually have a say about how that money is used for infrastructure.
And out of fairness for the other candidates, we want to make sure that we're fair. But we appreciate the passion of our candidates today. Now this is just a little joke to kind of levy the room. I thought he was going to come in a turtleneck today, because nobody can wear a turtleneck like Bruce Weeks. But I want to thank you for your passion. And again, out of fairness for the other candidates, we want to make sure that we stay on time. And this is not the only time that you can hear from these candidates, as you will probably be able to see in their campaign. So can we give another hand for Mr. Weeks?